How's it going, guys? GM. All right, so we'll be starting off over here. We got a really cool panel here for Multichain Day, Multichain DeFi. Makes sense. So excited to get this started. Why don't we start off with some intros? I'm Nero. I'm the CEO and founder of MCA, Multichain Advisors, Web3 management consulting growth company. And we've been around for a while. So
I'm Matthew on the Polygon DeFi team. Joined in December. I've been in crypto for a little bit over 4.5 years now. I was on the protocol side for 2 years, and then before that was at Libra trying to allow Facebook's blockchain to launch, which the U.S. government had other things to say about.
Hey there, I'm Rena. I'm with Stacks. I've been with Stacks for 3 years now. We're the leading Bitcoin L2 that just launched a lot of DeFi protocols. Prior to Stacks, I was ex-Binance, so I ran Binance US, and well before crypto, gas trader, and actually mined Bitcoin out in the oil rigs.
Hi guys, I'm Declan. I'm Aurora Labs VP of Growth. So Aurora is the home of virtual blockchains. We've created a way for any project to deploy their own chain in 30 seconds with full EVM compatibility, on-ramps, everything you can think of, all in one box. Haven't been in the crypto space as long as I would say some of my colleagues here. Before this, I was actually heading up Revolut's business development function. That's actually what got me into crypto in the first place, building their crypto for business. I hope nobody's had any issues with them. If they did, it was after I left.
Hi, my name is Aditya, but for non-Indian speakers, I tell Adi. It's easy to pronounce. I work as developer relations engineer. I have to look what they have written there for Pith. So, and Pith has been there for 5 years, but it's for me it's only 1 year. And before that, I worked for Tenderly. I hope a lot of people know about Tenderly and Sequence, a smart contract wallet team out of Canada.
awesome. We got a good group of OG native crypto folks and some Web2 folks that transition into the space. So super exciting. Why don't we start off with the first question? So all of you guys are in different ecosystems. What's your guys' approach to DeFi as it relates to your ecosystem? We got some EVM companies here, Infra, Bitcoin. Let's dive in.
Yeah, so on Polygon's perspective, we believe that one of the issues in DeFi today is like a lot of liquidity and incentives are fragmented amongst a bunch of protocols. We're building a few things that'll kind of come out in the next few weeks that marketing team will kind of kill me for saying, but basically our approach is trying to concentrate all liquidity and incentives amongst a few protocols and have a bunch of composable applications and front ends built on top, which will allow kind of these normies and these fintechs like Revolut, which is actually on Polygon POS, to come on board.
I think for us at Stacks, our approach to DeFi is a little bit different. We are not EVM. We don't plan to go EVM. Like we really want to unlock Bitcoin capital, $1 trillion directly, something akin to proof of work, like adhering to Satoshi's original mission. And so we developed our own VM that basically rolls up to proof of work. And we are conscious to make sure that everything that we do ties back to Bitcoin security at the end of the day. If the base layer is not protected, there's no hope for DeFi. And so we fundamentally believe that we must protect Bitcoin at all costs and let it be still the leading economic value and security value in all of crypto. And so Stacks takes the approach of we developed our own language Clarity that has its own post conditions and such. Remember, Bitcoin does not have smart contract functionality at all, and so we had to create everything from scratch. We're the only L2 that's been around since 2017-18 that did an SEC qualified offering. So we've built with Bitcoin, with the American government, and bringing the vision of Bitcoin should be in DeFi. We'll take the approach that Bitcoin is the only thing in crypto that has product market fit, and we fundamentally want to see the capital deployed.
Yeah, so Aurora is obviously EVM compatible, but we span out from Near originally. We take a slightly different approach as well. So, when you look at many of the networks out there, they allow your project to deploy on their chain. Whereas at Aurora, we believe you have your own chain. And this is valuable because there's no competition, but you still get access to things like shared liquidity pools. You can still access the centralized exchanges. We've got a near intense multi-chain DEX I actually agree that the fragmentation in the industry is one of the biggest challenges that we've got, and that's why our approach really has been this kind of no code, no cost, no complexity, solution, so that it doesn't matter if you've got assets on Solana or Ethereum or even Bitcoin, which we started supporting as a base token on our EVM compatible chains only last week. It doesn't matter where they are. You can bring them across easily without these difficult kind of complexities that are in the way. And that's essentially our approach.
That's a good answer. Uh, for us, like we don't have any favorite chains. We're more of like enabler for all of those chains. If you wanna go multi-chain or if you wanna build on one chain, like if there is DeFi, you need infrastructure, and for that we are there to provide prices. So either we provide on Aurora, we provide on Polygon, and we provide on Stacks. So for us, if you want to build anything and you need pricing, so we want to build a pricing layer and like an infrastructure. So kind of enabler, I would say, rather than a specific approach.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a very diplomatic answer. So why don't we get a bit more competitive over here? So, what do you guys believe is your guys' competitive advantage with the ecosystems that you guys are building in for DeFi builders, and how does that potentially expand to other builders outside of your ecosystem? And Adi, feel free to talk about Sui and Solana since Pit is super active there.
I'll start with that. So the competitive edge there that we have, like I've been PR trained, so I'll not say a lot of names here. But as compared to other infrastructure providers, our main, like my team, main goal is to provide consistent developer experience. And for now, we will onboard more users. For that, we have to build consistent user experience products out there. And who are building them? Mostly engineers. So that's what we try to do. Make a product that you don't have to learn the same product every time you're building on different chains. We can't ignore that the fact that we have so many chains and a product cannot live only on single chain. So our main aim and the competitive edge that we have, if you're using Pith and on any chain, you will have to learn only once. You move to Sui, you move to Solana, you move to EVM, or maybe Stacks as well. Any chain, you'll use in the same way. So that's a one big competitive edge. And I can name more, but I'll give chance for everyone.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you. Look, anyone who's got a laptop or a phone open, I can demonstrate our advantage right now. You can literally go to our website, auroracloud.dev, and deploy your own blockchain faster than I can give this answer. That is the competitive advantage that we have. We've got rid of all of the complexity. We've abstracted all of the difficulty. You can deploy the chain in less than 30 seconds with a base token of your choosing. It can even be a brand new one. It's connected to every centralized exchange like Binance, Coinbase, Gate. You also get access to Oracle. Peth, for example, can be one-click deployed. You don't even need to know what it is, although you should because it's a great product. The whole point of this is it's allowing builders to focus on actually building rather than worrying about infra or spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for some third party to build it for you. And for us, that's the primary goal. And Near Intense, which is the multi-chain DEX, does the exact same thing. You don't even need a wallet. You can open your phone, use your passkey, deposit your crypto. It doesn't matter if it's on Solana, or Bera, or Polygon, or Aurora. It doesn't matter. It's all been abstracted and removed out of the way. And I think that's going to be critical if we want crypto to be more mainstream, both at a business level and a consumer level.
2 words, Bitcoin yield. We're the only protocol that actually offers Bitcoin yield. So when you stake with Bitcoin, you earn Bitcoin, and that's really important to us. Bitcoiners are different than everyone else in DeFi. They're not looking for 50% returns or anything like that from yield. All they want is something safe where they can freely move their Bitcoin to an L2, deploy it in DeFi, earn something, and keep accumulating more Bitcoin. And that's the entire purpose of Stacks. We're the only chain that allows you to read and write to Bitcoin native state. No other L2 allows for that in Bitcoin. And I think it's really important because you have 21 million Bitcoin. That's all there's going to be in the world. You don't want to do anything to jeopardize this pristine asset. This is precious to you. It matters to you. And so Stacks take a very security-focused approach on we just want to offer what we can to grow Bitcoin for everyone. We just want to accumulate more value to Bitcoin because that's the entire purpose of why we exist. And I feel that Stacks has taken a little bit different of approach. We are a little bit steady, a little bit slower. We're methodical in the way that we're growing Bitcoin.
A little bit long-winded answer, but so at Polygon, users care about two things: deep liquidity, especially institutions, and high yields, especially retail. Polygon's building the ag layer this year, which is actually VM agnostic. So right now we're at V0.2. 0.3 goes live next month, which will not only include Polygon CDK chains, but it also allows Optimism superchains, Arbitrum Orbit chains to talk to each other. Later this year, we will have V0.4 go out, which will make things really, really cheap in sub 2-second pre-confs. We also have dev shops working on the Solana integrations and the move-based languages as well. And I think in that lens, basically, we think that all general purpose chains will have to specialize. Either the market will tell you what you're good at, or you'll be forced to basically figure out what you're good at and double down on that. And so, I mean, we're thinking about the Immutable and all these gaming chains. Like, they don't want to have to build their own DeFi ecosystems. They want to be able to inherit the liquidity and the high yields on these other chains and kind of connect in this interoperable way, which is kind of the vision that we're building towards.
Makes sense. Great answers, folks. So for next question over here, DeFi, like UX and DeFi is very important. What have you guys done, within you guys' protocols to enable that, and what's kind of worked and what hasn't?
Yeah, so there's a few things. So currently, like the layer zeros of the world or similar protocols operate on this like cross-chain messaging. While that is scalable, it's not the best UX. Similarly, solvers offer great UX, but again, like are not truly scalable. Over the long term, with some of the things that we're building, basically we're kind of building, honestly, like Stacks Bitcoin UTXO model, where you're just proving that an asset has moved from the source chain to the destination chain. And so we'll be able to provide a great UX where it seems like you're just on one chain, while also providing this security through like some ZK proofs that we're kind of developing.
Honestly, Stacks has had to do a lot. So, like for anyone who does Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin UX is pretty shitty just as a whole. Bitcoin hot wallets did not exist or any of these things. And so Stacks had to build everything from scratch to make it feel like a normal Venmo-like experience when using Bitcoin or deploying the DeFi. And so we launched our own wallets that allow for Bitcoin to move freely. We had to do things like upgrading the block space for Bitcoin so that we can have transactions that are not 10-minute blocks like Bitcoin, but 5 seconds. So it's all the fundamentals that we take for granted in normal DeFi ecosystems was not built in Bitcoin. And that's really kind of the improvements we had to make. Even more so than that, bringing Bitcoin capital on chain. So people have not really done that. Stacks raised 3,000 Bitcoin in 24 hours. So what, maybe 350 million just to deploy on Bitcoin, just to deploy in DeFi, which has not been done.
Yeah, I mean, UX is absolutely at the heart of everything we do. I came out with that statement, the last question, launching a chain in 30 seconds. You can only do that with unbelievable UX. And it's come with difficulty for sure. The Aurora Cloud Console, which is the heart of where we deploy all of these chains, has been designed with that kind of simplicity in mind, because there's so many choices and questions that you can ask. And we had many discussions internally about, well, does everybody need a bridge as soon as it goes live, especially now we have intents? Does everybody need an Oracle? And the answer is no, because the use cases that we're getting, especially since we made, the chains free, have been so varied, right? You've got your normals, like your RWA projects, enterprise gaming, AI, of course. But then there's other ones like charities, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? Organizations like this that are looking to leverage crypto but have no kind of fundamental engineering knowledge or core knowledge inside those companies to do it. So we've had to make it in a way that a Web2 audience would understand, but still providing the infrastructure and power that Web3 natives would expect. And that's where I think UX is most critical. It's tying those two communities together, because the Web3 still only represents 2-3%, of the entire market. That's leaving a lot of people out, and that will largely be solved with UX. And this cross collaboration, which many of the speakers have spoken about previously, removing that friction, removing those barriers, allowing communication between different networks. And it's great to hear that Polygon are doing something similar, because this really is going to make it easier for builders and, most importantly, the users that rely on them.
My answer won't, like, for us, like, it's more of a product that you integrate. So user experience is very less as compared to the chains, or like the roll up service chains and all these here, like the more on chains. So I don't have a specific answer on the UX side, but one thing that changed our product and brought success to us was like we launched very real time price feeds. Like before Peth, there were other oracles out there who were giving like prices every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, or you can't change that time frame. So we piggybacked on a lot of dApps who started using Pith, and they, from their user experience, I can't say, but from them they got to know that yeah, there's a product exists out there. And then we started working on our Insights Hub. So that's the only UX we have where you can go and see like how Pith is performing and everything. So for the DeFi space, I won't say like you don't come to Pith and do all that thing. Pith is, again, I'm repeating myself, it's an enabler. But for all the reference and everything, that's the best we can do on the UX side. So the question doesn't align to Pith. You set protocols, we are infrastructure, so it doesn't align to us. Sorry for that.
I'll give you guys a shout out though. Your libraries were so clean. Stacks integrated ourselves to you guys
Yes.
without y'all doing the dev work. Like so clean.
Thank you so much. And yeah, Stacks were the only one of the 5 companies out there who didn't ask for any help, and they integrated Pith Oracle by themselves. So I, like, yesterday I was researching about everything, and like, yeah, Stacks, I heard about it, to be honest. I never worked on that. But when I saw that you guys integrated Pith without even asking, they just came to us and like, we want to integrate Pith, and just give us every material that you have. And we never had to help them. They did it by themselves. So kudos to you. It's not an easy task, to be honest.
It's a good UI UX right there. All right. So question on like Bitcoin and DeFi. So right now, obviously, Bitcoin is the largest asset in the crypto space. DeFi is primarily, I guess, EVM is still like the king on that side of things. What do you think is the opportunity on the Bitcoin DeFi side of things for all the folks on the EVM side or even in the Bitcoin side? And yeah, I would love to hear more of that.
A couple really simple primitives that just don't exist in Bitcoin until now. All I want to do is borrow against my Bitcoin. That is it. I want my Bitcoin secure where I can still manage the underlying custody of the Bitcoin as it gets bridged into an L2. And I just want to take out stablecoin liquidity. Like the entire point of Bitcoin is that you never sell it. And so that's all I want to do. Stacks has built some lending protocols like Granite and Cess, but really the entire world wants to you want to feel rich like Michael Saylor. You want to acquire more Bitcoin and never sell your Bitcoin. And so that's like really kind of the golden goose of Bitcoin DeFi. I'd say the next opportunity is probably Bitcoin staking. So Bitcoin does not have a staking mechanism, clearly, proof of work, a different mechanism. But when you think about the economic security going forward with Bitcoin, when we run out of mining subsidies, you want to think about, can we move to economic security instead of proof of work kind of computation, because we won't be able to sustain that in 2050. And I think projects like Lombard have really brought in Bitcoin staking kind of LRTs and such. And I think Stacks is all obviously following suit. But I think that's kind of the biggest 2 things of really safe liquidity options or Bitcoin yield.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that the Coinbase Morpho integration that kind of like went viral about like a month and a half ago, like was borrowing against your Bitcoin, and not ETH. I would also say like any EVM chain will have leadership that are Bitcoin maxis. That doesn't mean we don't like Bitcoin. I think actually my last startup is called Buttonwood. They're pivoting into this buy now pay later thing where you're basically able to start to lock in the price of Bitcoin and kind of paid down over time. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for Bitcoin in DeFi.
Something that's probably underused is like there isn't like that many Bitcoin backed stablecoins. So that's something I do think is needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the importance of Bitcoin, is quite clear. Any changes to Bitcoin affects every other asset in the market. And for us, we recognize that even being an EVM compatible, Bitcoin is critical. It's why we launched the ability for Bitcoin to be deployed as a native base token on any of our virtual chains. It means that you can have native Bitcoin liquidity on your chain, on an EVM compatible chain as well. And this is going to unlock a lot of opportunities going forwards. And I think, it's already been touched upon, where some of the opportunities of the Bitcoin lie. But I also think what we're going to see, especially with what's happening in the United States, in the Federal Reserve, is we're going to see Bitcoin being pegged and attached much more tightly against real world asset opportunities with funds, especially as we're seeing larger institutions and more ETFs that are forming as well. So, yeah, I think it's important for kind of any infra provider to ensure that you're supporting Bitcoin both as a base token, but also liquidity option too.
I have a more of like a question rather than any take on this is, are we gonna see like Bitcoin other than an asset? Like, can we use Bitcoin infrastructure for DeFi? Do you think there's a future for that?
I mean, clearly I'm bullish on it, but
Yes,
yeah, I
but
do think there's infrastructure already being built. Like, look, there are maybe like 75 Bitcoin L2s. Like, that's how bullish people are on this. But more so, I think it's about using the block space in a way that actually works for you. So, like,
Hmm.
there are runes and Bitcoin based assets where you can do Bitcoin L1 DeFi. But I think it's difficult because if you fundamentally believe that Bitcoin is a store of value, then you're not going to do DeFi. But if you flip the switch and frame it as Bitcoin as a productive asset, then DeFi is the only thing that makes sense with it.
I don't have any take on this, to be honest, because like my mindset goes on the infrastructure side and couldn't get any answer to that. So thank you for giving more insights on that. So I'll
We actually related to productivity. Our goal at Polygon is like by the end of the year, people stop talking about TVL as a primary metric to evaluate a DeFi ecosystem, and start talking about productive TVL, like how much of that TVL is actually being utilized in the ecosystem. So more to come on that soon.
Awesome. All right, so we got around 8 minutes for some hot takes. So we'll go through some of them. I'll kick it off. So with DeFi and like significant fragmentation in the blockchain space, as we mentioned, what do you think is the actual solution for that? Is it a UI UX thing? Is it some sort of multi-chain solution? Or curious to hear you guys take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kick off that. Although I do feel like it's going to be the same as pretty much every answer I've given. It has to be about removing kind of the blockers and fragmentation. Imagine going to your bank and trying to get some money out and being told in order to do so, you'll have to order a passport from another country. When you get there, sign the customs certificate. Then with a stranger, you need a random device to be able to collect it. Then you go back to the bank. It just makes no sense, right? And I think, if we want to see a wider adoption across the space, both for businesses and especially retail users, we have to simplify it. And that's why we've really gone down heavily with this intents-based path. It shouldn't matter what network that you're on. It shouldn't be siloed and ring-fenced and based solely around kind of small liquidity pools that are there. And again, it's great to hear that you're doing a lot of work around solving that kind of liquidity problem and interconnecting chains with Avalanche, Polygon, Arbitrum. For us, we're doing the exact same thing with Intents. We don't even think you should need a wallet. Because the idea of having to connect a wallet every time you want to do something, then sign it twice, and if there's a ledger, it's just rubbish. And yeah, for me, it might be slightly controversial, but I actually don't think DeFi is going to succeed at all until we remove these pointless obstacles that are put in the way. It should be seamless. It should be quick. It should be easy. We're doing what we can to achieve that. Other projects are starting to do the same thing as well, but there's a long way to go.
I think we all have similar answers to that. So
You can go on to the next
Yeah,
take.
like
I think
I
for
would
me,
say, I would say like one thing is that right now there's like more assets and more protocols and more chains than there are like users today. I don't think you don't need 3 different types of Bitcoin on one chain. You don't need 3 different types of lending protocols on one chain. You don't need 10 AMMs. So one way to solve the fragmentation is kind of concentrating everything amongst like one asset per asset type, one protocol per protocol type.
Makes sense. I will say my hot take on the bank. If I go to my bank and ask for $10,000, even if I have $100,000 in there, they won't give it without asking like a thousand questions. So there's fragmentation all around.
Yeah, but imagine if they wouldn't let you take out a tenner. Like that's a better analogy, right? Like if you're going to the bank for 10 grand, I'd like to hope they'd ask a question, right? But it's true, that they will try and stop you. Or why do you need it? What do you want to spend it on? It's like it's none of your business. But imagine not even being able to take out a tenner, or going to a cash machine and the cash machine says no. Like, no, you're not having it. Like you haven't passed this, or you haven't done this, or you haven't connected that. It's just an unnecessary blocker.
Agreed. Any other hot takes you guys have?
So you may or may not be able to find a high yield private credit fund available to be looped on Polygon that got like launched yesterday with like a PR kind of push tomorrow. So I've been thinking about RWAs and kind of working on it a little bit. I have a working hot take as of yesterday that two reasons for RWAs to kind of come on chain is access to global investors and a larger total addressable market. Another reason is like different investment vehicles and structures. But what I increasingly believe is the driver that will make the global inflection point around RWAs and the less tech savvy RWA investors is AI. So if you think about TikTok and YouTube, as these are forms of video and content creation, they're powered by these content algorithms that feed you what you want. In a world where there are billions of RWAs on chain, you'll need AI to be able to talk to each other. And once you kind of tokenize an asset or a fund, it becomes a piece of software. And so software needs a way to talk to each other, which is where AI comes in.
Yeah, I guess one more thing from my side. We've talked a lot, or I've talked a lot rather, in regards to infrastructure and making that cleaner. But I think actually what you're also going to start seeing, and something that we're now working on, is supporting projects in all aspects of what they need to do. So, infra's fine, great, we've got it covered. But we're actually working on our marketplace at the moment, which is going to allow projects to get access to legal support, marketing support, tokenomics support. We've got an AI-driven tokenomics simulator that will allow you to actually input your tokenomics scenario before you even before you actually even launch your token, and it will give you a pretty accurate forecast. Obviously, as with anything, it's based on assumptions, but it's learning from every project that's input into it. Where marketing support, event support, all of these things, a lot of projects just don't know how to do. They lose a lot of money on it, and I think part of that is also why you see these projects chain hop, which I hate, by the way. I was explaining this to someone earlier. It's like, why aren't you doing grants? It's like, well, grants don't drive the right behavior. Investments do, and providing the tools needed to succeed do. But throwing money doesn't. And the evidence is clear. You have projects that go from one chain to another chain to another chain to another chain, and they have no survivability prospects, without continual funding. So I think providing something, like the marketplace, is going to allow very kind of select partners to ensure projects get that guidance and advice from people who've failed before, who've succeeded before, and hopefully allow them to work on the stuff that really matters.
I couldn't agree with that more, by the way.
Sorry?
I couldn't agree with that more. I said that on another panel one time.
Yeah, I've said it before. I think at the last one I was at, I actually got some gasps, as I just like kicked someone in the head or something. Like, what do you mean grants are a bad thing? And it's like, well, look around. I mean, I can only speak, kind of from personal experience, but if someone constantly has money thrown at them, they don't necessarily appreciate the value of that money, or worse, they do, but for them, the future run rate is solved solely by finding someone else to give them money. And that's why so many projects in this space just die. Because the second the market turns down, the grants get turned off, and all of a sudden these projects have nowhere to go. They can't raise money because they've got no revenue stream. They've got no path to profitability. They don't even have a business model. And more importantly, they have like this trailblazing fire of money that they've burnt through, to date. So, I actually think grants really hurts this space.
I would say that I recommend to any builders out there, You need to create a billboard of TVL on one chain and continue to iterate and find product market fit before expanding into other chains. So you take Athena, for example, they launched, they hit a few billion TVL right away. Then they can use that leverage to get a grant that actually moves the needle. Whereas some other people will launch, say, oh, maybe this chain doesn't like us. They have no loyalty. They go expand other chains and now they're fragmented in terms of the responsibilities. Their team's too small. And that's like what leads to the outcomes that he's talking about.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It also creates a lot of technical debt. It's not easy, right? You then have multiple tokens all over the place. You've then got multiple infrastructure stacks you have to manage. If there's conflicts of interest or compatibility issues, so I would agree with that sentiment. I think, you launch
Less
somewhere.
chains, less
and then go.
issues.
Well, it depends because, obviously from Aurora's point of view, we're providing people with their own chain. So for us, we believe actually that having your own chain is better than launching on someone else's chain, but not because we think there should be millions and millions of chains, but it's because actually you've got full control. You can provide the user experience that you want. Let's say you've got two types of customer, someone that's paying a monthly fee and someone that isn't. Well, maybe the people who are paying monthly fees shouldn't have any transaction fees. Maybe they should have a yield rate. Maybe they should get access to certain dApps that others don't have access to. It's very difficult to do that on someone else's chain. But if you have your own that's permissioned, then it's very easy to do that. So I don't necessarily think having more chains is the problem. I think having more chains that aren't interconnected, that don't seamlessly interoperate between other networks, that's the problem. Because what you're doing is creating silos, which dries up the liquidity, kills the projects, and more importantly, creates these projects that just chain hop or network hop rather. So I'd say that's a bigger problem rather than chains themselves.
Adi, Rina, do you guys have any hot takes as we wrap this up?
I actually think governments might be the biggest user of DeFi, like going forward, or like sovereign wealth. It's no secret that every country is trying to stockpile Bitcoin one way or another, and it's one of the only assets that's going to make it into their reserves. With the tariff situation and all the kind of countries having to fix their deficit, DeFi might be actually the only way they can make a full send.
I would say, in my opinion, last 3 years, I've seen DeFi becoming more complicated as compared to what it was there three years back. We are bringing more protocols, similar protocols, as you said, like they're forking each other, adding one more functionality and raising money with that functionality. And nowadays, in past 1 year, I've seen a more of stable coins. I don't know why we have so many stable coins, and they give like good APY to attract people for like 3-4 months and then back to 5%. So let's start decluttering this space, make it less complex, and like with the I never knew about this, that you can roll up your new chain with Aura so quickly. So more of these networks out there. Like I think Polkadot and Substrate did the similar thing, but they never succeeded as they wanted to. But with these kind of innovations, we might succeed on the whole space, not might, DeFi space.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, look, the issue of clutter, I think, comes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's because it's too easy to get access to quick cash through various programs. And, nobody likes a bear market, but one advantage that we have seen of the turbulence is probably the diplomatic way to put it, over the past kind of 6 months is only genuine products that are adding genuine value are surviving. Those that aren't are dying. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing in normal business. It's not a bad thing in our industry either. Because what's left are companies that are forced to innovate, forced to create actual value, to customers rather than just clones, carbon copies, or God knows what else, right? And just on Rena's point, I also agree. I think governments are going to play a big part in this. In the UK, in case my accent didn't give it away, there's a huge amount of research at the moment into how the UK can leverage not just crypto but also AI. The government and the Treasury in particular there actually see a combination of the two as the path forwards. It's the same for the Bermudan government, that they're actively involved in a number of projects across payments, tax management, accounting, infrastructure. And it just makes sense because it creates transparency, but it only makes sense if you can solve the issue of the complexity, the barriers, and the UX. And then once again, we're back full circle, right? Clean UX. Clean UX, kind of clean business models leads to much more opportunity for those in the space and those looking to join it.
That's it. All right, folks. Well, we're over time over here. Thanks again to all the panelists over here, and appreciate it.